Good morning and welcome. And I'm excited because Nana is my guest today. And Nana, I didn't realize had been following me for quite a while, right? How long
Many
ago?
years.
Where did you jump in my journey?
I would say, I think earlier than this, but the one that really started it all for me, or in my
Mhm.
memory, was the fanny packs when you were
Oh,
stopping and giving those away to people. Yeah,
yeah. Oh, that was
yeah,
so fun.
I know.
I met so many nice people.
You
Uh-oh.
did. Yeah, with
I
all those perfect little things all packed in there from your stop at Walmart. That was so sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, And what's interesting is I came across your video just like 2 days ago. I referenced you in my last video or two
Yeah.
videos ago, saying I ran across this person and I reached out to her to see if I could interview her because you're now living the life I want to live. You went from van life to expat. And so I always reach out to people. I don't know if people know that, but a lot of times people don't respond to me. But you
Yeah.
responded right away, and that you had changed your channel name, and I had recognized your name was Nana
Van Glam.
Van Glam. That's right. And I don't think people really realize, like we were just talking before this. You said, I feel like I know you, you don't know me. But I feel like, because there are people who regularly comment and I know the names.
Yes.
And I truly feel like I know them. And I don't say it enough, but I appreciate those because those, I feel like we're conversing. Do you know what I mean? Like we're friends.
Oh,
I know you don't
absolutely.
think, I know you
Yeah.
don't think I see you, but I see people in the comments who comment all the time and they're so
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah, we become
And,
your family in a sense,
and that's it.
your
Yeah,
digital family. Yeah, because we're real people. Just because it's the internet doesn't mean we're not real.
right.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful part about the internet and
Yes.
connecting.
Well, and I think especially with a channel like yours, Tracy, because yours is very personal. I mean, your black screens, you share everything, but and you give great advice. Here I am
Oh,
tooting your horn, but I mean, you really do. But it's extremely real, and I have enjoyed that, and I've gotten a lot out of that from
mm-hmm.
you and your lovely mother.
Oh, yes.
I love Joy. Yeah,
I
so
love church too.
I really feel like I know both of you. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. And so
Mhm.
we were kind of talking because I don't even know your backstory. I just watch your video. And again, now I know who you were, like that we were connected already.
Yeah.
Um, but so tell me, because you did van life and you
Hmm.
said you ran into some problems, and I
Yes.
completely get all that. And so let's start there. What made you want to get in the van? And because you're 65, right?
I'm 67 now.
You are?
It's been a while. I'm 67. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
so let's go back. When did you start van life?
well, I'll go back a little bit earlier than that. I'm really bad with dates. All I know it was the height of COVID and it was time to
Yep.
renegotiate my lease. And
Oh,
I was in the art business my whole life. I was directing fine art galleries. And then about 20 years ago, I started my own. And it did really well where it was and everything. But my state was completely shut down. It was a really frightening time. And I thought, do I want to commit myself to another 5 years? It was a stressful job anyway. It just is because the
hmm
rent's high. It's a snowbirds, Florida. Snowbirds have to
hmm
come down if there's a hurricane or this or that, the stock market's bad or anything. Then you're like, oh, am I going to be able
Yep.
to pay people through the summer? My staff, it was a lot, but I've been doing
hmm
it all my life. But anyway, so I decided I'm gonna retire. I'll figure it out. Anyway, well, we all know what happened. The prices
Yeah.
just started going crazy. And I'm somewhat of a critical thinker. So I was diving in the internet, looking at this, looking at that, and I came up with the idea. I live in a highly desirable market in Florida. I can
Uh-huh.
rent out my condo,
hmm
get, top dollar because people want to get away from the snow and whatnot. And I can just live in my van.
You already
Well,
had a van?
I, well, I went out and got one.
Oh,
Yeah. And then I rented my place. So this, a bunch of things in a row. And so when I embarked on van life with my little dog, Petunia,
uh-huh.
actually, before we left, someone ran into me into the side of the van. And yes. And I invested in a Winnebago. So it was not cheap, right? It had
Oh,
everything, had a kitchen, bathroom like yours, just newer
yeah,
model.
yeah,
And, I'm not handy. I'm not a mechanic. I wanted peace of mind, right?
yes, yes.
I got the warranty. I did everything so it'd be okay. But
Hmm.
anyway, so that was the first hurdle. It took there were no body shops because when you have a high roof, your van life people need to know this. When you have a high roof, 99% of the body shops, the roof won't
Can't
fit in
fit.
the garage. So
Yeah,
then you have to be in an RV place, and
yeah,
everywhere was packed.
yeah.
So it took them 5 months. They kept promising me to fix it. And I had all of these national parks. I was going to boondock a lot, but I had
Yeah.
national parks booked, all this stuff. Anyway, long story short, I finally made it. But along the way, anything could go wrong went wrong. Like right, I was visiting with friends in South Dakota, and I go back into my van, to sleep. Everybody wants you to sleep in their house, right? But
I
that's not
know.
your.
I talk about that. I'm like, that's my house. My bed is
I know.
comfortable. I love it. They think it's a punishment or like, they're like, oh, come sleep in here. Like and you're like, no, I got my own house.
Yeah. So it had been pouring, and I go out in their driveway to get in the van, and my mattress is completely soaked.
Oh, nothing
So I'm knocking
worse.
back on their door. I say, I think I need to
Yeah. Oops,
sleep in
by
the
the
van.
way.
Anyway, that was just the beginning. I won't bore you with all the things, from water pump to refrigerator to, just everything. And then when you're on the road and you're under warranty, you're at the
Yeah.
mercy of these
Yeah.
places.
Right.
And so it just unraveled. Yeah.
And I just want to say something quick because I just talked about this yesterday. I went to the RV show
Mhm.
and,
I
seeing these
saw.
new RVs and stuff. And,
Yeah.
it's like they seem cheap, but people notice too, there's a high interest rate. And listen, they're getting, seems cheap. But
Crazy.
again, I watch Liz Amazing. I don't know if you watch her,
Yes.
but and she, talks to these people who buy brand new. I mean, some people have paid $500,000
I
for their
know.
RV and
Yes.
they pull it out of the parking lot and it falls apart. And just like
Yeah.
you, that it takes months and they have to drive to a different state and all
Yes.
the plans that they had
Yes. You
go
lose
out the window.
all the
And
plans.
yep. And I will say that that was the one nice thing about Charlene. I know people are like, oh, it's a 2001 road trek. Charlene only had 56,000 miles on her when I got her, but
Yeah.
she was built sturdy. The only things
Yeah.
that
Solid
happened
as a
were
rock.
like
Yeah.
the mechanical stuff, like you're expected
Yes.
on an older vehicle. But yeah, like you said, you got the warranty. So after South Dakota, did you have to take it to a different state to get it fixed or?
No, that's kind of a funny story. I was bound and determined. Anytime anything went wrong, that's just my personality.
Me
And
too.
everybody thinks our gallery business is just sitting around listening to classical music and drinking tea, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
luxury sales. So
Yeah.
I had been in sales all my life. So I thought, I'm just going to go down to this dealership. I'm just going to go in and talk to the manager and do a little bit of the teary-eyed,
Yeah.
not fake, because I really was
Right.
teary-eyed. Thinking.
Yes.
And he said, well, where are you staying? I said, I'm staying with friends. He said, where? And I said, like such and such. And he said, oh, who are they? My brother and my so-and-so live out there. And I said who it was, Tracey. And he had grown up with my friend's family. He was best friends with her brother.
Oh,
It was
wow.
just by fluke. So he said,
So you
honey,
had
now
an in?
you just sit down over there and wait. So they couldn't fix it 100%. They said it happened in the factory. The window wasn't put in right. It
Oh,
needed a new window. So they
hmm.
put Band-Aids on it. And he said, it's going to be good for a really long time. Don't you worry. And they really took care of me.
Did you have to get a new mattress?
No, because to try and get that shipped and
Oh,
all
I
this stuff.
know. The
And at
logistics. Yeah.
that point, prior to that, I had made reservations at Glacier National Park, and bucket list place, right? And I
Yeah.
was not going to miss out on that. So I stayed at my friend's longer. We put the mattress by the window inside, of course,
Yeah.
and hair dryer blowing on it
Yeah.
and dried out the foam finally. And then I
Hmm.
took off again. But crazy things. Oh, I had another thing. I still don't even know what it was, but I stopping at RV places. It was this whistle sound, Tracy, and it must have been something on the rack on top.
Yeah.
But the dog was freaked out about it. I was like, you're
Oh,
driving like the whole
oh.
time. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God.
I was just watching one of Liz's amazing things, and one of the people, brand new thing, that's what happened for some reason, and they could not, they would put a towel in it, they would do whatever, and they said
Yes.
it drove them crazy.
My awning, I got an email that my awning was recalled and it's an electrical awning. And I was at the point where I thought, I can't even address these things.
Right.
They were for people on the road with this model. It was a recall. It was a federal recall. And they said that it can actually engage while you're driving. And so I called dealership after dealership, but they all had like 2, 3 months waiting lists for their service departments to
Well,
fix the
that's
recall.
the one thing I talked about too. It's that when van life, people see all this aesthetic stuff, how beautiful, they
Mhm.
show, I don't know if you saw the parody of me like opening the door and I'm in a Denny's parking
Yes.
lot and stuff, you know, because when, some people, that's the whole point of their channel. It's all aesthetic and, though that's beautiful and stuff. And then, they turn the camera off and, they're in a parking lot, they're whatever. And you have to realize it's your home. And if something happens, you have to figure out another place to stay while it's getting fixed.
That's expensive too.
And like you said, for the dealership, like when it's a recall, you can't just get it in the next day or the next week even, and they
Yes.
keep it for, a day or two and then you get it back. And you have to
Yeah.
figure out like, oh, I have to stay at a hotel.
Hmm.
How am I going to drive somewhere? I mean, I just had that thing, do I miss van life? It's the mental gymnastics of it. It's
Yes.
exhausting.
A lot of people burn out. And I know you've
Yeah.
mentioned before the young kids that have done it for years and good for them. They're doing
Yeah.
off-grid stuff now, like all this.
Yeah.
I follow a lot of same people you do.
Yeah.
Um, yes. And I don't know whose video it was, but they really hit the nail on the head, and you just did too, where it's decision making burnout.
Yeah.
And I know it just from doing it a little over a year. So you get to the boondock place, and then there's a sign, no overnight parking. You were on I
Mhm.
overland doing the whole day. You get there, and then what do you do? And then you're back to the drawing board. So those things, you're constantly like looking on your phone, like where am I going? What am I doing? It's a lot of planning from moment to moment.
Well,
Um,
and I know I would end up, like I said, a town is a general dollar store and a gas station. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? I have been through so many of those, and that was considered a town. And, it would start to get dark, and I'd go on Overlander. And
yes,
a lot of times, places that you could stay at, you couldn't stay at
I
anymore. They were
know.
really starting to shut things
Yeah.
down. And then you're just like, well, okay, what am I going to do? Like, you really had to prepare. And sometimes you're driving. That's why I started to be like, okay, where am I heading? And then I'd find a place. I just had a map, a shellacked
Yeah.
map.
Yeah,
And
like
that's
the
how
old
I
fashioned
did
way.
it.
I know. I had an
And I'd pick up,
atlas.
yeah, I'd pick a place with a star because like
Yeah.
that was highly populated usually.
Yeah.
I'd look up a Pilot or a Love's, and I'd
Yes.
be like, okay, that's where I'm headed because I didn't trust Overlander
No, I
anymore.
stopped. I ended
Yep.
up doing a lot of truck stops. And
Yep.
then also like overspending, ending up at a
Oh,
KOA or something, which is ridiculous. It's just a parking space.
yep.
And
And a lot.
they're with inflation. I mean, a KOA or those things are over
Oh,
$100 a night.
yeah.
Or I'm thinking KOA specifically that brand, but at most of these places where people park their RVs are at least $75 a night. And
Yep.
tons of them are like upwards of $200 a night.
Yep. Well, and I remember I found myself, I forget even where I was. It's funny, I specifically remember like driving down the road and I was at the end of my rope because I'm like, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I
Mm-hmm.
have nowhere to park. And so there was a place close. And again, I had to drive through some backwoods and stuff like that. And
Yes.
you're always thinking about, oh, I don't want to break down here. I mean, for me, and especially being a
Yeah.
solo female traveler,
Yes, you have
when
to
you're
be
out in the
careful.
middle of nowhere, you're just like, oh
Hmm.
God, here we go. I hope it works.
Yes.
And last minute, I found this place, but I didn't pull in till like 5 o'clock. And I was getting back on the road because I was kind of on a time limit. I needed to be somewhere. And so I paid $75 to basically just sleep overnight and leave
Mm.
at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah. And I went ahead during that time period where they were taking so long in Florida for the body work. I was able to get, I was bound and determined. I would set my alarm in the middle of the night and look and see if somebody maybe canceled at a state park somewhere or something.
Oh, that's
So that I had the, what's it called? Something America Pass, where I
hmm
could stay at national parks for like next to nothing. I don't know
right,
what, I can't remember what the age is, but I qualified. So
right.
was able to slip into places. And then I think I told you this before, but I joined Harvest Host. I don't know what
Yeah.
that costs, but that was a lifesaver. And all
Okay.
I'd have to do is call the place. And I stayed on a buffalo ranch, um, a lavender farm, of course, wineries, and you get to stay for free. And all that's
Right,
expected is that you buy a little something at their gift
right.
shop, or you
Place.
do a little something. You don't have to, but I always did. I supported the business, but that's
Right.
like nowhere near what it would cost. Heck, at pilots and whatnot, I ended up so much
Yeah.
of food is. I probably spent more at a pilot than I did at a
Well, and
harvest.
taking a shower, I think I told you my shower, like I didn't have a thing and it was just so small in there. And I know
Yeah.
it would get everything wet. So, I would stop and take, because my way of traveling was I knew I had a destination I was getting to.
Yes.
So, however long it took me. And that's why I didn't mind staying at pilots and stuff. But when I
Yeah.
did want to take a shower, when it would be a couple days, I started, I think it was 15 or $16 just to take a shower.
Oh, I can't
And
even imagine what it is now because
by
everything
the
keeps going up.
oh
Oh,
yeah,
and everything, not just van life.
just by the time I got off the road, which was just this past April, it was up to $18 an hour
Yeah.
or $18 just for a shower. And I think you have
Yes.
like 15 minutes. You get in and you get out. And here's the thing though, too, I get it. It's for truck drivers.
Yeah.
And so if you're just taking, a shower, that it costs more. But I mean, almost $20 just to take a 15, be
Mhm.
there for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And to your thing for Harvest Host, I actually looked into that, and I don't know if it was just the timing, but the ones I ran across on YouTube where a couple women had problems because some of them are wineries or where there was drinking. Yeah, again, it might have
Oh,
been just like it pulled up when I looked up,
yeah.
and they had had some problems with.
With like, I think some of them are in like downtown areas and things like breweries,
Yeah,
and I'm not a drinker at
yeah,
all, very little,
yeah,
so I'm not a partier.
yeah. And so they
And
actually had to leave. Like they didn't even
yeah,
stay their
wow,
night. So it just
wow.
happened at the time. That's what I saw. So I was like,
Well, and that's a nice part about it is like everything else on the internet, even Amazon, there's going to be reviews. People are going to say
right.
what their experience was. So I did see some comments like that on certain places. There were golf courses too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
saying though yesterday, I look back because my thing was too like during COVID, it's kind of when I was like, I really want to do this. And I think that was kind of the sweet spot. Like you said, now things are going up. They aren't making the rigs like they used to anymore. Um, you know, it was just more, I don't want to say it was easier because it was still hard,
I
but
think it was
now
easier.
too with the national parks, I mean, this all just happened. They're taking
Yeah,
away the people and stuff.
I know.
And the parking, now they're really cracking down on parking. It's getting more
Yeah,
expensive to even
yeah.
stay at a place. So I think where you and I were when, especially for I think our age and
Mm,
having the tenacity to go out as solo female travelers,
mhm.
that was the sweet spot,
Yes,
even
I
though
think
it
so
was still
too.
hard.
Yes, yes, and I think even a few years before that, when you had Eamon and Beck and all the people starting to do
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
we kind of came. in, well, you didn't. You were doing it early. I didn't. I came in kind of on the tail end, and that's why I ended up with some problems. But I said this in one of my videos recently that I don't regret that trip at all. I mean,
Mhm.
and I live out of the country now, and I hadn't seen the United States the way I saw
Right.
it. It is truly just, it takes your breath away. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just we have a magnificent country. It just,
You, Utah and Montana, and what I was surprised about, Pennsylvania, that will always be my like. I was driving through there and I'm like, never would I've ever guessed this
mm-hmm,
was so beautiful.
yeah,
And Utah, I was just telling somebody the other day, I wouldn't even take a video or a picture. I would pull the van over and I would just get out and stand there and look because
yeah,
nothing could do it justice.
no,
And I would just be in awe. I'm like,
I
is
know.
anybody else seeing this? You
Yes.
know?
The things you're missing, in the photograph, the smells and the
Yeah.
sounds of the birds and I mean, just everything,
The
taking it all in.
silence, even sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the silence. Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah.
Um, so then what made you get out of van life?
So I made that pact with myself. I said, if there's one more thing, that's it. So that's it. That's the end of that story. So, and when I got back to Florida, I thought I've got to figure out a plan. I don't have enough money. I have some equity in my condo, but I don't have enough money to live in the United States of America. And I think a lot of people, particularly women, so I thought,
Mhm.
what's plan B? What's plan B? And
Right.
I'd always heard of expats and that sort of thing. And a lot of van life people had into the off grid thing, had moved into having sort of a travel channel and eventually living as an expat, places
Yeah.
like Portugal, Panama, Costa Rica, all over. So there I was, retired with all of my free time, still following people like you because I love van life so much, but then looking at expats and getting a feel. And so
That's
then I
where
found,
I'm at right now.
there you
So that's
go.
why I was so intrigued to talk to you
Yes.
because you don't even know where to begin.
No. Well, one thing that I can say, and I've said this in one of my videos before, is as mature people that we are, I'm a lot older than you. That's to our benefit in the sense that with age comes discernment.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they don't ask each other questions before they do things. It's like, what's the climate there?
Right.
What's it, what are all the different aspects of this life here? Some people
Hmm.
move, they end up moving. Some people, I'm sure, go off grid in the middle of nowhere and go, oh my God, I'm bored or something, because they haven't asked themselves those questions. And when you have an entire lifespan of sort of
Yeah.
trying this, trying that, a little here, a little there, that you really get to the point where you know what you like and you don't like.
Yeah.
That's why I'm still single
Me too.
because I'm so
Me
discerning.
too.
Right? We get pickier. We just
Right.
do.
Yeah.
So you do your research, you use your intuition, and you know
Right.
what you like, you don't like, and then you make the right decision. And last but not least, because this is really important, is not to live in fear because guess what? And I always used to say this to my kids. My son, when he went off to college, he got into several. It's like, Mom, oh my God, what if I don't like this one? Said, then you come back home and you
Right.
transfer to another school. I mean, you're not selling your soul to the devil.
Yeah. That was my thing when I left that driveway. I thought, if I don't like it, I'd just come back and move on with life like I had
Go
before.
back to the drawing board. And, I know for me, I can't afford to live in the US, but if I end up not liking it here in Colombia, or something, there's issues or things like
Yeah.
that. People, we won't go into politics. There's nothing
Right.
going on in Colombia right now. There sure as heck is
Yeah.
in the United States. If
Yeah.
things happen and I'm not comfortable here anymore,
You'll move.
I'll I'll move. I'll figure it
Right.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's what I said too, and my history with my family passing away and
Yes.
stuff like that. And I said, for me, honestly, like that's like I had nothing to lose. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like I was more afraid not to go than I was to go, because then when my brother had passed away, right before he passed away in November, or I mean October, uh, right after his 61st birthday. And then COVID hit, like seriously, that next month was when they started shutting everything down. And
Yes.
so that like all tied together. And I was like, and then, sitting in the house and wondering, and I'm like, whoa, what have I got to lose?
Yes.
And again, I was more afraid to not go live my life than I was to, I've like all my family was in hospice when they died. So to watch somebody, so you're like, well, what
Yeah.
am I afraid of? I'd be afraid to be there
Exactly.
and say I didn't do something like that. And I think
Well,
too, van life, like it gives you the resilience and the confidence to know you can do it.
mhm,
You ran
absolutely.
into all those van problems, and then you
Well,
were
and
like, I'm not going
there
to do
is,
this anymore.
yeah,
Now what?
exactly. And there is no such thing as failure. It's just everything's a learning
Right.
experience. I don't consider
That's it.
myself a failure a day
No,
in life. I mean, it's just, it wasn't right. And, so you maneuver, and that's true with your entire life, whether it's
exactly.
jobs, this or that, whatever, you just sort of maneuver. But um, a sad way to live is to feel locked in, to whatever that job is, or,
Fearful. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think even if I could have afforded to stay, let's say like borderline, I know right now I have that financial peace of mind. So I don't have that noose around my neck.
Right.
But oh, you're gonna have to edit this part out because I just had a senior moment. I had a brain freeze.
Well, how old were you when you retired? Were you 62? Yeah, I know.
I'm an art person, not a math person. I'm literally
Yeah,
counting
me too.
on my fingers.
You're out for you can borrow some fingers.
Yes, 62.
Well, because in the US, whoever's watching, if you're not in the US,
Mhm.
that we can draw our Social Security when we're 62.
Yes,
And I just looked mine up. And for what you get anyway for working your whole life,
I know.
I'm like, well, now there may not be any. Again, we won't
Yeah.
go into that. But I can't even imagine we are where we are, but I can't even imagine for like my daughter who's gonna just be 24. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it was never meant to be that, but listen, we're the ones that saved that. And so looking ahead, like what I'm gonna get, it's like you still have to have a job anyway, because
Yes.
now things are so expensive. Like it's
Yes.
and so for me, like I said, for it, once you've lived van life and you can do that
Yes.
with all
Yeah,
that,
that's major minimalism. I
yeah.
mean, it's like, because people say, oh my gosh, did you ship a container? And like, no. So yeah, I mean, you can pare down to a van and be happy.
Like I said,
Certainly, go
I
ahead.
could live, everything I own is in this room. I
I
rent a room
remember,
now.
yeah,
It's
you
really half a
really
side of
pared
a
down.
house,
Yes. Yes.
but you really realize what you don't need. Like I had stuff
I
in my
know.
garage when I moved, and I'm like, I just dragged it from place to place and never even looked in that box.
Yeah. And I don't know, purging. I've always liked to purge. It's a very freeing feeling for me of getting rid of things and giving things to people. I
Mhm.
actually found this is a funny story. I had all my stuff from my van, right? And I thought, I really want to give back to this community. And so I thought, I'm going to I think it was on Facebook or stuff. I was part of some groups and I had traveled across the country, so I hadn't gotten to know anybody in Florida. So
Mhm.
I wrote to a few people and literally offered like all my stuff. And I picked a few that I thought really needed help, but I
Uh-huh.
think that they didn't respond because it sounded too crazy or too
They
good
were
to
like,
be
it's
true.
a scam.
So then I was like saying my prayers, like something's got to happen. I don't want to just take this to Goodwill,
Right.
you know, just going to resell it and everything. I really want to give it. And I was walking in my neighborhood in Florida, my condo neighborhood, and there was this camper van in a driveway, and this couple was in front. And I got to talking with them. Anyway, he was the ex husband they were still friends. They'd recently divorced. They had young children, and he was living in the van, had just gotten it. And I
Oh,
tell, and I don't know, I'm probably reading stuff into it, but sometimes men really get the short end of the stick with the
yes,
divorces.
no, I get it.
It,
Yep, true. I
yeah,
worked in the
sometimes that can
legal field.
happen.
I worked in family law. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So and the kids came out, daddy, daddy. They're all excited because he's going to take them camping and stuff like
Yep.
that. And then I offered it to him, and I just know those kids, and he have really enjoyed, the camping trip. The gear and stuff that you have
Yeah.
in there,
Oh,
crazy
I
stuff.
had like a garage. I still have
I
it.
know.
All my tools. I have a
Yeah,
drill. I can do anything.
I know.
I tell my mom, I'm the man I've always dreamed of, It's
I
like,
wish I could say that I am, but here in Colombia, I can just hire a handyman for like pennies on the dollar.
oh,
I'm not good at fixing anything. So
right. Well,
yeah.
and so now let's get to that. And I just want to kind of inject here too. I know some people, like, I think it takes a certain personality to, do van life. Some people really like their home buddies. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
They like familiarity. I know one of my sisters, like she's an accountant. She liked things like this. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
She put her stuff out the night before, everything's
Yes.
set. Where I think, when you watch van lifers, you're more of free spirits.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to pigeonhole anybody either, but it seems like to be a personality trait.
Hmm. It
Like,
does.
oh, whatever happens, happens, and you go with it.
No, I think that's
Um, uh, but okay, so now, how did you choose Colombia? Like, what was your decision? Because this is my thing, my daughter's here and my mom's here.
yes.
But
Yes.
how did you get over that, leaving your family? How did you choose Colombia?
Well, the main criteria was an easy flight back to Florida. My children are grown. My grandson also is almost 15 now. And it
Oh,
used to be, he would cry when my daughter would come to pick him up and stuff because he
oh,
didn't want to leave my condo. And now, he just wants to hang out with his friends.
right.
So, yeah, I wanted to be close by, and I had a family member that became ill, and I actually went back for a month and a half
Oh,
because of that. Yeah. So, but it's a 3 hour and 15-minute nonstop flight to
oh,
Florida.
that's nothing.
People think South America, because it does go all the way down to
Yeah,
almost Africa, that it's really far away. But
yeah.
you look at the map, and you know how Mexico kind of curves up.
Hmm.
And so actually, Colombia is not far from those Caribbean islands like Bonaire,
Oh,
Trinidad,
wow.
Tobago. Yeah, it's just at the bottom of the Caribbean. So you have like
Right,
the US and Mexico, but it all kind of curls up in this basin, not basin, but Gulf and Caribbean region.
right.
Yes, it's not that far away from the United States. And this
And I didn't
time
even realize
similar.
that
Mhm.
when you said, and it's a pretty cheap flight. So you invited me. I said, I'm going to come to Colombia. I'm going to come visit you.
Yes, we
We'll
can
do a
do a
tour.
crazy, yeah, Thelma and Louise thing, except for the last
Yes.
scene.
Well, and it makes it so much
There's so
easier
many beautiful places around
when
here.
somebody else has already taken the leap, and
Hmm.
then you can go visit and they can show you,
Yes.
instead of figuring out yourself. Did you know anybody there, or did you just go visit?
It sounds crazy. My daughter's best friend had gone on vacation, and she was raving about it. I
Oh,
had already started looking into not Mexico, because I used to live in Southern California, and I got sick. It's just my constitution. I got sick every time I went to Mexico, and I swore I just
oh,
wasn't do it again. I'm not saying anything bad about it there,
no,
but
just
there's
happened.
something in
Yeah.
the fertilizer. There's just something that does that to me.
Uh-huh.
And I can't do that,
Yep.
especially at this age. And
Yeah.
Costa Rica I had looked into, and Panama seemed to be I mean, all you have to do is look on the internet. Those are the two places and they were a little closer. So I
Right.
looked at this first, and I did not want the climate that I had in Florida. I was tired of that hot, humid. It's like you have that in Minnesota, but it's like for 2 or 3 months. In
Right.
Florida, it's for 9 months. You only have three
Right.
good months. You don't realize that. 3 good months
Yeah.
where humidity is low and it's only 80. And then the rest of the
Right.
time It's just like you're walking in soup. So Panama's like that. Then there's an area that's up in the mountains. So when you look at climate, you look for elevation usually.
Right.
Yeah, in places that are close to the equator. I mean,
Right.
obviously you
Yes.
do that
Yes.
in Colorado, really.
Yeah.
You'd be snowed in. But so there's a place in Panama that's a lot of expats go to called Buquete.
Hmm.
But when I looked at it, I was also looking at like apartments and different things, little houses, and I was looking at like the condition of them, like and going on Google Maps and walking down little streets and stuff. And there were beautiful parts. They were kind of pricey, but then I looked at where it was. It wasn't near Panama City. It was kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Yeah, so I ended up ruling it out. And then my daughter's friend came back from Medellin, Colombia. I was just raving. And I'm going to look that up. And in the back of my mind, because believe me, it freaked my kids out too. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, honey, how do you go to Colombia? That's cartel. That's it.
That's
Oh,
that's what you
no, that
think
all got
about.
cleaned up decades ago. It's not like that. It's amazing and stuff. So I went down the internet rabbit hole and I looked at all these YouTube channels. I joined Facebook groups. I really felt like I got to know the area that way.
Hmm.
And then I came and visited and came one more time again before I moved. Yeah, to be absolutely sure.
That is, I mean, I find through my life, and I'm sure yours, and I'm sure everybody, but when you look back, like just the things that happened that got you to the next, and that's why I just trust in whatever unfolds. Like I said,
Yeah.
life goes like this, that, the happenstance that your daughter's friend just happened to go while you're
Yes.
looking, and then you end up there. Like
I know.
things just
Like
kind of
it can.
unfold as they
It
go.
does.
And listen,
Yeah.
I keep looking at that beautiful, I was watching your video too, the beautiful view and the wall to wall windows that you have.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I look out over the Andes Mountains and I'm only 35 minutes by car outside of the city.
Well, so because you said do they call them apartments there, right?
Yes. Thanks for
Yeah,
clarifying. So they call it, whether you rent or you own, they call it apartment. Hmm.
yeah. So I was just watching your video from yesterday, like your expenses and stuff.
Hmm.
And I was floored. So how, 'cause you said you just got your visa?
Yes. One thing you
How
have to keep
long?
in mind with most Latin American
Yeah,
countries, and it's the same
yeah,
thing in Spain and Portugal. It's really so many countries in the world. In the US, we're very speedy, speedy, speedy.
right.
It's just things are slower paced.
Slower.
They're
Yeah,
they're very well done.
right,
There's an enormous amount of bureaucracy and protection. Like I always thought that the United States was so safe as far as, like your identity or the steps that you go through. Um, Not so much the visa, but I ended up purchasing an apartment because I just didn't
right.
want to. I wanted that financial peace of mind.
Yeah.
And I was able to buy this apartment for only a little bit more than what I sold it for.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that was the whole idea of the ban too. Well, between doing that and selling my car and other stuff,
Right.
then I didn't want rent. I just, I'm at the age where I don't want it. My association fee is $112 a month.
I was watching that. I used to be the president of our association of my townhouse, and
Yeah.
every year it would go up. And seriously,
Yeah.
some of them are like 600, $800 now. Like there's no cap
I
on
know. In
what they
Florida,
can
they're
put
even
on an.
higher.
Oh,
And
I can't even imagine.
a lot of it has to do with it's not just maintaining the road and the whatever it is they're in the facility, the gym or
Right.
whatever that's
Yeah.
there, but it's mainly that insurance policy.
Yeah.
Insurance has gone up.
Yeah.
So you have to have your own insurance policy for the condo, but the big one, because it's for the structure and the roof and
Yeah.
all that crazy stuff,
Yeah.
that's the association.
Yeah.
And that's why those fees keep going up.
Well, and for Florida, I mean, that's where I lived in DeLand. It was actually a smaller town. How come I can't think of it? But uh, people can't even get insurance there anymore because of
Oh,
the hurricanes and stuff.
yeah.
And
And
so
look at
imagine trying to,
California with the fires. It's same
yes. So
there.
imagine trying to buy something and you lose everything to a fire or a
Yeah.
hurricane. and you can't rebuild and you don't have that. Well, it's kind of like with my car on a smaller scale, my
Yeah.
Hyundai with the
Yes, I
motor.
heard what
And now I'm
happened.
finding
Yeah.
out, and I can't even sell it to get recoup any money. I can't trade it in to recoup any money. And how do you get by? Everything's getting more expensive. Rent.
Yeah.
I mean, for where I rent, so I'm paying $800 a month here. There's no laundry and there's no real kitchen. There's no oven or stove. I had to
Right.
buy
So
a
you're in someone else's home, right?
right. And it's considered, so she was waiting for her Airbnb license. So
Uh-huh.
I actually like get the half of the house to myself.
That's
And
good.
I'm hardly ever here.
Yeah.
And I make it work. But $800 with no laundry and I park outside and it just is ridiculous. Where in the past, if you were just renting a room, it
Yeah, a
would be
couple
like
dollars.
400
Couple,
bucks. Yeah,
yeah.
tops.
Yeah. No, I know. But coming from van life, that wasn't, I mean, it wasn't a big deal to you because, I mean,
Right.
we all were used to laundromats and I was like,
Right. Oh
whatever.
no, I enjoy the laundromat now. I never
Exactly.
thought in my whole life I'm like, who goes to laundromats? You know what I mean? Like I
I
have to
know.
have mine in my house. And now
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, and I wear the same thing 3 days in a row. That I
Well, you
don't
know
have
why
that
I
much
like it
laundry.
is you get one of the bigger ones and
Yeah.
you don't have to do load after load like you do when you have a household size. You just throw everything in one big one, all your bedding, everything. It's like
And
done.
that's what I was gonna say. People may clutch their pearls, but like I mix my darks with my whites and I just put it all in the same
I
thing
know.
because I'm
I'm the
frugal.
same way.
And I'm like, oh, if something ruins something, well, you know what? I got it at the Goodwill anyway.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I watch everything in cold
Yeah. Yeah.
just to avoid that.
So, okay, so you were talking about because a lot of people, the big thing is oh, and you're also in a gated community, right? Or it's secure.
Yeah, pretty much everything in Colombia has that. I mean, it's
Oh,
pretty
wow.
normal
Mm-hmm.
that there's a guard gate. And it's not because it's unsafe or anything. It's just sort of the tradition. It's
Right.
really I was blown away when I first landed, just like my daughter's friend was, is how modern and sophisticated this country is. I mean, like, so
Mm-hmm.
your standard apartment, and there are affordable ones. So like the newer construction ones and whatnot, even the public housing. Okay, I'll give you an example of how they build. And you can see it's all modern like this.
Yeah, it's
In the
beautiful.
bathroom, it's like these, because I guess they make everything here and it's cheap. I have no idea. But huge like porcelain tile. I have in my
Mhm.
bathroom porcelain tile that looks like marble.
Yep.
And then, in the United States, when you look at like an older home, it'll have like the, I guess it's aluminum, whatever frame for the
Right.
shower, or
Yeah.
even a shower curtain or whatever. And it's only like the really high end places that have like that all glass. No,
Right.
all the showers they built here are with that really beautiful heavy glass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So very well made. I used to
very well made. And just aesthetically, being an art
beautiful.
person, I like things that are pretty. And
Yeah.
I tend to like things that are newer because I'm
Me too.
scared of money
Yep.
pits because I'm
Yep.
so not handy. Like Italy, a place like Italy or Portugal.
Yeah.
I mean, those places, they are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years
Years old.
old.
Yeah.
Leaks, mold, all these kinds of things. It would be my luck
Yeah.
just if I did something like that, just to end up at this place that I'd have to leave.
It's funny. I was just talking to somebody about this. So I used to be a real estate appraiser.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
done
Another
so many
thing. Yeah.
things.
My
Yeah.
resume is like 20 pages long, but and I watch some channels that do like appraising or, what do you call it, like inspectors. And same thing like with the vans or the RV rigs. They're selling these homes for $1 million. And the guy will see like, the cabinets are crooked or the paint is like
Yeah.
on the ceiling, or they'll take a marble and it'll roll down because the foundation is slanted. And they're trying to sell these for $1 million, and they're so shoddily made that it's a money pit.
That's
And
crazy.
so, how much are you willing to tell us how much you paid for your place?
Yeah, I just made a video about it. So
I I, I just didn't know if you, yeah.
No. Yeah, no, it's fine. I paid $160,000.
Right.
And I wish I'm actually talking to you on my laptop. So I'm so, I don't know if I can kind of, well, there's nothing in that
It's
direction.
beautiful. I saw that. Oh my
So,
gosh.
so this is what I did because the thing is I didn't want a big place. I just wanted beauty and I wanted to be able to sit
Yep.
out on like a balcony and look
Yeah.
at nature every day and stuff. I
Yeah.
didn't care about the size. So I found a small, their bedrooms in Colombia are very small. It's like that doesn't bother me. It's like
No.
just put a
You
bed
lived
in
in a
there. I'm
van.
fine. It's like whatever. You know,
Yeah.
it's all about, this room here,
This,
right?
yes.
Yeah. So I saw this place, and there was one for sale in another building that was also this size, and they had put in this glass. You see this little glass thing?
Hmm.
Because what was there was the second bedroom, tiny, just a second bedroom. And I thought, well, I don't I don't have to have that. I can get a super huge sofa. I'll also get an air mattress
Yeah.
and king size bed. I mean, my daughter, when she comes and just sleep in the bed with me, it's no big deal. So I have that view. So and again, that's asking yourself, like, what is
Right.
it that makes me happy? I'm
Right.
at the point in my
Right.
life where I just want to relax and enjoy my life. And I remember a friend saying, well, that's going to affect the resale value of your place. It's like, I don't care.
It's I don't even think about those things. Somebody said that about the van when I was
Back when
doing
I was
stuff.
like in my 40s,
Yeah.
yeah, I would
Yeah.
have cared. But
Yeah.
I don't care about that now. I just thought,
Right.
and I have a breathtaking view. It's more panoramic and I'm happy with it. So anyway, it was a two bedroom for 160, but I turned it into a one bedroom.
What's the square footage?
Square footage is around, it's small. It's probably only
Yep.
around not 850 square feet, but that's
What
big
more?
compared to a van, right?
I say, what more do you need? And look at the
Yeah.
views. So that's the thing. It's like a give and take sometimes. Like you said, it's everything you want.
Yeah.
And, for it to be brand new and have that view, oh my gosh.
And I wish I could show you. Well, your viewers will just have to go to my channel and see. I'm going to do an apartment tour at some point. But
Uh-huh.
like right now I'm sitting at the counter
Hmm.
and the stove top, it's quartz. They always use quartz. They don't have any granites, quartz countertops. And there's a hood, those hood things that
Yeah, 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 yeah,
normally in an apartment, you just get the microwave over the stove, unless
yeah.
you're in a high-end place. Oh no, this is like an island. Again, it's not big, but there's an island and it has this
Right.
beautiful hood and it has this like glass arc that comes off of it and stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh. So
Wow.
yeah, everything's just really, really well done here.
So some of the things that I have questions about. So, okay, you got a visa. So now that you own there, are you considered, I mean, a resident? I don't know how all this works because if you're just going there to live, because I know visas are for a certain amount of time usually.
Yes, that's correct. So
Uh-huh.
explain just sort of a Reader's Digest version, and also preface it by saying there were so many websites, particularly in the Medellin area, so many companies, attorneys' offices, this, that, and the other. Everybody does visas for people. And it was definitely suggested on the people I made friends with. I was still in Florida
Right.
at this point,
Yeah.
just having decided on a place. They use attorneys to do the
Yep.
real estate. So, and she was really good. I mean, top notch.
Yeah.
Nothing's expensive here. But she took forever to get back at me and she kind of dropped the ball at the end of the whole thing. There's just after you have the closing, the notary takes, there's some extra steps after
Yeah.
that before you get you're allowed to even move there and get your key, but before you get your final title, and
Visa.
you have to have the
Oh,
final
title.
title in the type of visa that I wanted. And I'll explain,
Hmm.
there's other kinds too. I wanted
Yeah.
that title to get my type of visa.
Right.
So I thought I'm not going to use her. So again, I networked to the people I knew on Facebook. And this one gentleman, he's lived here for like 20, 25 years. He's in his 80s. The
Hmm.
sweetest guy. And he said, "Oh God, you have to use Huli. It's not Julie, it's pronounced Huli."
Uh-huh.
And he said, "She'll help you with everything." He said, "You don't know about Huli?" I'm like, "No, who's Huli?"
Absolutely, yeah.
And she's Huli lives in my area. She has been a personal assistant type person for gringos like me,
Uh-huh.
gringos, the
Yeah.
northerners. I'm like a poor client of hers. I mean,
Right.
she oversees like buildings of whole homes, like ranches for people and
Oh, wow.
sorts of things. She knows, and I know one thing about wealthy people is that they're generally cheap.
Yeah.
I
That's
mean,
why
so
they've
for and
got
they
so
don't
much
want to spend
money.
much money. And I mean,
Yep.
she has a network of everything. I went over a speed bump. I bought a little car because I live way up high on the
Hmm.
mountain. I need one,
Yep.
a little itty bitty little thing. And I didn't see a speed bump. I was in a different neighborhood. It wasn't yellow, and it was one. You know how
Hmm.
some are like they go up like
Yep.
this. It was
Yes.
not like this. It was like that. And
Keith
I
and I were in Cozumel, and that's every like 10 feet there was one. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry to sidetrack. I tend to ramble. But anyway, so long story short, my whole bumper smashed in and my grill was cracked
Oh no.
and pieces of it like missing.
From a
And
speed bump?
hmm,
From a speed bump?
yes, because it's a car height thing. Yeah, so I
Uh-huh.
guess my front end like went down
Oh, hit.
either on
Yeah.
the upper, I don't know at what
Yeah.
point, but it like
Yeah.
cracked all that.
Yeah.
So I checked with a couple of body shops and then I mentioned it to Huli and she said, "Oh, I've got a guy, Shelby." He's got a small
Of course she
body shop
does.
in Rio Negro. And I kid you not, I was quoted, it probably would have been like $2,000 or something in
Yeah.
the
Oh,
US,
at
right?
least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least. So, and I had been quoted like $600, $500. This guy that she knew did it for $120.
No.
No, I'm not kidding.
I love the community that sounds like that it's
Yeah.
people trying to help other people,
Yes.
not take advantage of them.
Yes. And I've always been one to I always tip here, even though,
Yeah.
with some types of things it's not customary.
Right.
I'm super generous
Yeah.
because their system is our dollar is worth four times
Right.
their
Yeah.
money. So we can
Right.
afford,
Right.
to give them a little more. So I have people writing on my channel and they're like, "Oh, well, do you think you get gringo prices? Do you have to negotiate a lot?" I mean, this kind of stuff that I go out and I buy and stuff. Am I really going to negotiate with someone over 50 cents or a dollar when, I'm at a fruit stand, right? When they're
Yeah.
trying to feed their family, and
Right.
just have good, honest
Yes.
living and stuff. No,
Right.
I gladly, yeah.
Right.
I go
Yep.
to this discount store called D1 because they have real inexpensive, like for cleaning supplies, things like that. And there's always a man in there. And I don't know, I think he might be the dad of one of the workers or something.
Hmm.
And he always offers to like, even if I only have one bag to carry it.
Carrie. Oh,
Yeah.
oh
And
my
then
God.
I always tip him. So now he like chases me,
Oh yeah, I bet. Hey Jenny, that carried, yeah.
It's what the
Um,
tip is. It's a $2 bill. It's Colombian pesos. So it's
mhm.
2,000 Colombian pesos,
Right.
which is 50 cents. So
Wow.
I'm giving the guy 50 cents.
Right.
And
And
he
he's
tips
so
me and
appreciative.
I'm
Yeah.
learning Spanish and we chat. And so
Right.
yeah, it's a really, really sweet culture.
How long have you lived there now? When did you move
Oh, and
there?
I'm going to go back to the visas. I'm sorry, Tracy. I kind of got
No, that's
sidetracked.
okay. No, how long have you lived there? I was just thinking
It'll be
that.
a year in April.
Oh, so it's
And then
been
I
a
did
year.
go back for a couple months
Right.
with a relative, yeah, in Florida that I had to be with. So yeah, but anyway,
And
so
then,
back to the visa. So I had Huli.
yeah.
So I had Huli and he said, "Oh, she knows such and such accountant. Huli does visas, renewing passports. She does all of that." Oh my God. She was so much more knowledgeable, so much more clear, 100% fluent. I mean, just like and
Wow.
so inexpensive and we've become good friends. I mean, I
How much
when
does it cost to get a visa there? Like, do you think total did the
I'm going to be
process?
interviewing her again, you have to forgive me, and please viewers too, because I just don't retain numbers well. It's
Oh
always
no,
a new
I
thing, so I
we don't
don't
need to
know.
anymore. We don't
I
need
think
to.
the going rate is like 300 to maybe, and
Oh,
Huli
that's it. And
for
that's
like
it. It's just an
250.
approximate
I
because
think it
like
was around 250.
I think thousands. Do you know what I mean? Like when
Oh, no,
I
no, no, no. So
you're
here's how
just
the visas work. Okay. So when you first arrive in Colombia, even if you come to visit, anytime
yeah.
you come to Colombia, you're allowed to stay as a tourist for 90 days. And
Okay.
you're on, I don't know what the limit is. You're only allowed to do that so many times in a
Right
year,
here.
as a
Yep.
tourist. Then, then you need to decide if you are going to be living here, what type of visa you want. So there's a retirement visa,
Oh, uh-huh.
and I was well over the age, so I don't know what the age is, but I'm going to be interviewing Huli on all of
Oh, good.
this for my viewers to have that
Let's say
info.
this too, because I'll put it down in the description, but what's the name of your channel so people can go follow you?
Oh yeah, it's navigating with Nana, and that's spelled Nana.
And I'll put that below, but I know a lot of
Yeah,
people
navigating
will
with
want
Nana.
to follow your journey so that they
Yeah.
can learn more.
Oh, yeah, perfect. So I'm, I'll post a video, and then people say, "What about this? What about that?" And it's
Yeah.
a video. Did you go through that too? Like it's like
Yeah.
you
And
just
you're like,
talked
well,
about that.
I can only do it for, yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
just baby
Exactly.
steps. Yeah.
So I'm going to interview her, have that. But I do, um, my channel just exploded. I've only had it for, I did a couple of videos, I didn't get any views. And then I did the one that you saw, which is the
Yeah.
transition from van
Right.
life to the other. And I guess I put the right keywords or something. I don't know. I'm like a total
Well, I think
novice.
so many people are interested in being
Yeah.
expats now that
Yeah.
that's what they're watching.
But I got to the point on the one video that just blasted. Uh,
Yeah.
I was answering like everybody, and there's a great website. And I can, so you're just, it's not a good website to actually hire people from there because I consider it
Right.
expensive, but they have a fabulous website. It's called Medellin Guru, and Medellin
Hmm.
spelled Medellin, and then
Hmm.
that description too, guru, like
Uh-huh. Right.
and .com. But they offer all these services, but they have informational sections on everything. So if you look
Oh,
up
good to
how to
know.
get a visa, well, they have one section where they just go into like what they charge, and then there's another. I've been sending links to people where it explains the different visas. So there's retirement one, and that the minimum income I think is like 16,000 a year, something
Oh,
like that.
okay. Yeah.
So it's low. Same thing with, I ended up with a real estate investor visa.
Right.
And there was this one slight more perk with the medical insurance, but Huli said, "Oh, I get around that. Don't worry about it." Whatever.
Well, it sounds like who
She
is
knows all
the
the,
person to know? Yeah. As long
it's
as you
like,
got
whatever.
really,
We'll figure it out. Don't worry. That's fine. Get the investment visa. So, and then there's a very popular one, which might interest you, is the digital nomad visa.
oh, yeah.
And that's for people that, uh, can make their income from online. So there's an
Right.
income requirement for
Yeah.
that. I don't think it has as much longevity or potential for residency
Oh, I'm
like
sure.
the
Yeah.
retirement one and the real estate one. Um, but it could be a stepping stone, like in
I
your
was going to
case,
say, I'm
do
assuming
that
once you
for a
get
few
one,
years.
it's easier to move to another one if you
Yeah,
already
because you're
have
almost
one.
60, right?
Yeah, I'll be 60 in October.
Yeah. So, I mean, you possibly, I don't know, could do the digital for a while and then switch it to the
Right.
retirement one. So
Yeah.
once you have a retirement one or an investor one,
Yeah.
then you do that for, sometimes you have to renew them, like mine going to have to
Yeah.
be renewed.
Yeah.
But it'll be less expensive because it's just some
Right.
paperwork that Huli
Yep.
has to do. And that you do for 5 years. And once you've done it for 5 years, you become a legal resident. So
Wow.
there's no reason for me to have Colombian citizenship. I mean,
Right.
it'd be nice to be able to vote and stuff, but you don't really
Right.
need that. I mean, I can just stop
Right.
with that for those
Right.
that want, and it doesn't mean that a lot of people don't understand what expatriate means and expat. It
Right.
just, there's people with foreign parents. I mean, people can hold multiple passports. It
Right.
doesn't mean that I'm like poo-pooing on the United States
Right.
and I never want
Yeah.
anything to, and you never lose your citizenship. You are always a citizen of the United States of America, even if you get your citizenship in Colombia,
Oh, right. So you're dual
yeah,
citizen.
you
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
ever lose that. You never
Oh,
lose your Social Security ever. You
that's
can live on the friggin' moon and you're entitled to it.
segueing into that because that's a big question that I mean,
Mhm.
I'm interested, I'm sure a lot of other people. So how does that work as far as like the banks go and dealing with how you get your social security still and
So that's why I'm so glad that I had Huli. I probably could have figured out all of this, but it just was like at lightning speed and everything with her.
yeah.
So here's the order of things. So I came on the tourist visa a couple of times. Then I got here and I closed on the house rather than doing the retirement visa. I could have started that earlier, but I did the whole
Yeah.
house, not house, but apartment thing, got that started. And then once you have some type of visa other than a tourist visa, then you're
Mhm.
entitled to get what's called a cedula, and that's your
Mhm.
government ID. So it's not like a social security card. It can't, nobody steals your identity or anything, but
Mhm.
it's kind of nice because anything that you do, it's just sort of all in the system.
Right.
But for banks, for this or that, it's like super easy to pay online, do whatever you need to do. So anyway, once you get your Colombian ID card, which is the cedula, then you can get in the bank account. So for me, I mean, we were talking like a whole 6 months process because of the whole apartment
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
So and this is information I got from Facebook groups,
Yeah.
the postings and stuff. You can do research past posts like expats
Mhm.
in Medellin, women expats of Medellin. I mean, there's a gazillion groups out there
Right.
that you
Yeah.
can join, and there's tons of info. So then after, I'm having a brain freeze. So you got your, what were we talking about?
Oh, so
At a
the
point.
banks, like how do you get your social security?
It's thanks. So once you get your visa, then you get your cedula. Then when you have your cedula, you can go to the bank and get a Colombian bank account.
Oh, right.
And
Yeah.
but none of that, you don't need any of that to get your Social Security because you can still have your bank
Wait,
account
in the
in the
US.
United States. To
Yeah.
me, it's just so much easier and it's better for
Yeah.
tax reasons too. The
Yeah.
accountant, yeah. So and again, I learned this from many Facebook groups. They all talk about it. The very best card to get, there's a lot of them, but a really simple, easy one. It's not even a credit card. It's with Charles Schwab. It's a
Mm-hmm.
checking account. It's free checking, and you get
Mm-hmm.
a check card that works like a debit card or a
Mm-hmm.
credit card or whatever. It doesn't cost anything. And there's no foreign transaction fees. Some people have credit cards that are like that. I never did, like a travel type credit
Oh,
card.
right. Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
oftentimes, charge like $100 a year and stuff
Right.
like that. Anyway, Charles Schwab one's free. Use it at any ATM. And now that we're in the age of plastic, I
Yeah.
can use this Charles Schwab card wherever I
You
go.
go. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I
I was
and
going to
then
ask too. So I don't know. I mean, I haven't gotten here yet, and I don't know if this is a dumb question or not. But once you draw your Social Security, and
uh-huh.
you're not working anymore, so you aren't making other income, do you still have to file taxes because they know how much you're being paid?
Yes, and that's why you need a good accountant in Colombia,
Uh-huh.
and they have ways to advise you of what to do and not to do. And
Oh,
same
okay.
thing in the US.
Right.
Now, I've never been wealthy enough where I've had to pay tax on my Social Security. Like
Right.
all those things,
Yeah.
those thresholds have become so high. I mean, it just shows you
Right.
just what inflation is that
Yeah.
I never pay tax anyway on it. So
Right.
I don't worry
Okay.
about it. Yeah.
But so you still have to, in the US, file
I do a
taxes there.
return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do a
Um,
US tax return and then you do a Colombian tax return.
and then I heard you say now you pay insurance, you pay like $60 a year or something. And does
Yes.
that cover medical?
No, no, that's not a year. That's a month. So,
Oh,
and I
oh, a
actually
month, month, month.
misquoted because I hadn't gotten my first bill yet. And then
Oh,
it was only $43 a month. And
Oh,
I asked Julie about it, and she said, "Oh, yeah, it's, they do all these different calculations and stuff. It has
yeah,
to do." So their medical system is superb here. It's one of the best in South America.
yeah.
On my Instagram, it's the same handle, Navigating with Nana.
Hmm.
Um, I show a picture of the hospital in my local area. I mean,
You said
it's
it's beautiful.
it's beautiful. It's like all glass like this, and it's sort of circular in the round, the whole entrance. I mean, it's incredible. I went in there because I have to have my
Hmm.
blood check every 4 months.
Hmm.
I'm healthy, but it's just something they have to check. And so I needed a specialist here, and I didn't have insurance yet. They do
Yeah,
require that some form of travel insurance when you
right.
apply for your visa. They don't want people
Yeah,
coming here and just
yeah.
we know that
You,
story in the US, right?
yeah,
Just
know
walking
that
into their
story.
hospitals
Yeah,
with, and
yeah.
never paying the bill. So anyway, I found out with travel insurance that for like a pre-existing condition, they don't cover it. So
Hmm.
I went to the hospital because I couldn't on the phone. My Spanish, I've like no
Oh,
Spanish.
yeah,
I've gotten
yeah,
much better, but basically
yeah,
no, not on the phone. There's like no
right.
way because I
Yeah,
used a lot of sign language.
yeah.
Just I thought I'm going to go to the hospital. So I went there, and I'm at the counter and trying to explain. And this man in scrubs, he was a orthopedic surgeon, comes walking out down the hall and stuff, and comes up and says, he says, "Oh, all the doctors here speak English. How can I help you?" And so I told him, "Oh, I just want to make an appointment." And he said, "Oh, well, we have our concierge. Let me go get her." This hospital has an English speaking concierge that's free of charge. And then
Hmm.
she went back to the thing, made the appointment for me. Then we hooked up through text. She set up the appointment from all my lab work.
Yeah.
And then she said, "Do you want me to come in to the appointment with you?
Oh my
Our
gosh.
doctors are fluent, but just in case," because hers was like impeccable, like not even an accent she didn't have.
Yeah.
Sure. Anyway, all of that cost a little over $100. And a hematologist, right? And lab work.
Well, I work as a pharmacy tech, and that's the thing. We're being priced out of everything here. I mean,
I know.
you can't afford to get sick. And I know people who get sick that they're like, no, I don't want to take an ambulance because I can't afford that.
Yes, I
So when you're
know.
dying, you're thinking about, I can't afford that. I can't take an ambulance, even though I need
Yes,
to, because I can't afford that.
yes.
Um, I've been looking because I was started looking like you Facebook pages and stuff at I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. Merida, Mexico.
Oh,
It's
Marita. Uh-huh.
yeah. And I was watching a video about a family that lives there, a guy, and he said he had like a toothache or something, and he had to go in. They got him in the same day, like they
Yeah,
took x-rays, they did like a root canal or something crazy, and he ended up paying like
I
$125
know.
all said and done.
I know a lot of people that they just don't even get the insurance. But for me, if I end up with something really serious
Right,
or something, I mean, I'll pay the
right.
40, I think the bill was $43
Yeah.
a month. And there's no
Yeah.
co-pays or anything now. It'll be 100%
Well,
of,
compared to $500 a month here, and you still have $1,000 deductible and then a
yeah.
copay. It's
And
crazy.
I know you felt bad for being naive. I mean, like every step of the way for me, I've been like totally naive. I was like all excited when I was saying, okay, it's COVID. I'm not going to renew my lease. I'm just going to retire at
Yeah.
62. And then I was like all disappointed because I thought you got Medicare when you retire, but
So I just read that. I'm sorry to interject, but I thought too, and I just read that somewhere,
I
some lady, and
no,
it's not till 65.
it's not till 65. And then I always thought it was free, Tracy.
Me
I thought it was
too. You still
free.
have to pay. Yeah.
Yes. So the deduction, and it goes up every year, the deduction
Yes.
is almost $190 a month. And
Yes.
that's for Medicare Advantage, which is the absolute
Yes.
like hit
And
of
I just
insurance.
found that out because, I'm taking care of my mom's stuff.
Yeah.
Because I
Oh,
had to call
right.
because there was like a blue RX and I accidentally called Medicare because listen, I don't understand like who do I call, what's what, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, whatever. And that's it, that they're taking like $200 out of her Social Security
I
for
know.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did
So
we not know this?
how do we not know this? And then I looked up, I thought, I bet you the US penalizes, I bet they do something bad if you stop your Medicare. I bet they do. Like, what, heaven forbid, if I get really sick and I want to move in with one of my kids or something
Yeah.
and leave her, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to look it up. And sure enough, they do. There's like huge penalties. There's like all this. I mean, they like take away like all
Yeah.
your, like, it's horrible. So then I found out, and I'm pretty sure this is true. I got to look it up, that there's Medicare A and B, and it's the
Yep.
B is one that's the 180 a month. So the A, which includes all your hospitalization and all the big
Yep.
stuff, is
Yep.
free.
Yeah.
So I read just drop the B. So that's what I'm going to do next this coming November is just keep my A and save myself the 180
Yeah.
bucks
And
a month.
I mean, they make it so confusing. A, B,
Oh,
D, and that was the same thing with my mom because, I got her on an elder waiver. She has no money. And, then they get you on a program, for insurance, but she can keep her. Thank God I didn't cancel that before we got that because they let her keep her Blue Cross Blue Shield. And
yeah.
that's over $300 a month. That's Blue Cross Blue Shield
That's expensive.
Advantage, Senior Advantage.
So sad.
And then she has Blue RX, which is like 70 some dollars a month. And then they're taking out the 200 almost in her Social Security. I mean, I don't know,
It's
trying to
horrible.
navigate all this.
I don't know
And
how you get it. I mean, that it's just
I'm
it's a
still doing it.
maze.
It's kind of
Yeah.
like van life. You don't know, you just, whatever
I
comes
was
up,
gonna
you
say you
just
don't have
deal
a
with
choice,
it.
and then you just do it. Yeah,
And I
you
still
don't have
don't know
a
if I'm
choice.
doing it right, honestly. Like,
I
I
think
don't
from the
know.
sounds of it, you've done an incredible job. I mean, she's in a great place. She's happy,
I don't even know
and
how I got her in there. Do you know what I mean? We tour places and most of them, I don't want to say they're yucky, but they were. And she's in this
oh,
beautiful place. But
she
yeah, even
deserves it.
talking to the caseworker, I'm like, well, I didn't understand that. Like, you have to explain it to people. It's just too
Hmm.
confusing, just put it that way. Um, but
No, it's crazy. I took
it
care of
is
two
crazy.
relatives with cancer and had to
Yeah.
go through all that. So yeah, and just trying to, I mean, just awful, awful,
And then,
awful, awful.
trying to deal with your own life and your own insurance
Yes.
and, your own stuff. And so, but I'm looking forward to a more peaceful, like I said, living situation, um,
Yes.
in the future. I see myself being an expat and I'm definitely going to come visit you. So
I can't wait.
I
We'll have
know.
time. And we have so much in common too, and so
Yep.
much we can share, do
Yep.
some filming and share with everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll have some good laughs. I think people are gonna be laughing at us.
Oh, for sure. Well, you know me, I love to laugh.
I love
That's,
your videos with Keith. They were great.
oh, Guy, I miss him so much. I
And
talked to Keith on the
and his
phone.
friend's name, the
John,
one, yeah.
John.
You
Yep.
met them the first year you met them at the nudist colony.
I never,
Funny,
and
like
now I'm
all
like,
this, like, how did you guys meet? It's like years later. This is my great friend Keith. How'd you guys meet? Oh, at a nudist camp.
and that's where like Billy, where I had to went and made a call, went to the cops on Billy, and oh my God. Yeah, and this hopefully at some point I'll move like somewhere like that and I'll write my book then. That's
Yes,
the ending of it all. Write my book and fade off into the
definitely,
sunset.
definitely.
Um, so again, tell us your channel and I'll still put it down below, but it's Navigating with Nana.
Yes, and Nana is
Okay.
spelled Nana. Super
Yeah,
easy.
and I'm sure uh your channel is going to blow up because so many people want this information and it just helps so much when you're trying to navigate it from here. Like you did
Yes,
a lot of that. And
absolutely.
you watched videos and so your videos now are helping other people.
I know, and it feels, and you know it because you've done it. It's
Yeah.
they say that people become good and popular on YouTube if they're passionate about something.
Yeah. Yep.
And when you start reading these comments and see how much you're helping people, and
Hmm.
you know from being on the road, I mean, the people I'm sure you met too, that
Oh,
were not living on the road because they chose it,
yes.
but because they had no choice and literally like living out of their cars and everything.
Well,
And
that
that's
was the
going to just,
that's what the fanny packs were about. You do meet these
yeah,
people that, I considered myself so privileged, even though I don't think I have a lot, but I have a lot. You compare
yes,
when you
I
get out
know,
there. And I met a
I
woman
know,
living in a car and, she let me interview her. That's when I was in Arizona.
I
And
remember.
I'm just
Mm,
like, wow. I mean, it's amazing. But then that's what we do. You pay it forward.
you do,
Yeah.
absolutely. So yeah,
Yeah.
I just enjoy providing all this information for people, letting them know they have a choice and that the expat thing might not be the right thing. When I
Right.
interviewed Julie, which is going to be coming up,
Yeah.
um, she's going to go into who would not qualify,
Right.
as well, because I want to be really honest and upfront. And I'm
Yeah.
so excited about being here. And it probably seems like I'm just ultra positive and like one of those like fake people because I'm like,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
really haven't encountered much. But I am going to do some videos on the things that are different here, like I
Yeah.
mentioned, that are
Yeah.
slower. The toilet
Yeah.
paper is like we don't have Charmin.
Yeah.
Paper's not great. But you know what? You make some little sacrifices in your life to have this peace of mind, this beautiful life, to not have the financial worry and everything
Right.
anymore.
Yeah.
And there's so many other beautiful things about this place that I don't let stuff like that bother me.
Well, and I think it's kind of like with van life that it's not the mental gymnastics, like how am I gonna pay my rent this month? How am I gonna, do that? That finally, that's what retirement is supposed to be. It's supposed to
Mhm.
be where you can relax and enjoy, that you work so hard your whole life. And now there's a guy who started at Walgreens at the pharmacy, and it's funny that one of the pharmacists said, "Yeah, you're not going to make it here because the pharmacy is very overwhelming and just
But
a
it's
lot."
you?
He's 69. No, it's a guy that just started in the pharmacy, and he's
Oh,
69. And people are having to work because they
yeah,
can't just live off of their Social Security anymore. And you know, again, you worked your whole life. That was the
I
whole
did.
point. Like,
And I
and I
had a
know,
total brat mentality about it. And I said
you
to my
know.
kids, I said, I refuse. I said, and I
Yeah,
know I'm still young because at the time I was, turning
right.
66. But I said, I refuse to work anymore.
Yep.
I've paid money into the
Yep.
system. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I said, and they're like, well, mom, don't go yet. You can
Yeah.
probably do this, wait a while and whatever. And I said, but I got to come up with a solution now because things are just getting harder and
Yeah.
harder and harder. And if I choose to stay here in the US now,
Yeah.
like, when am I going to be working when I'm 80?
Well, and I
I
know
don't
people
want
are going to
to.
say, oh, you should have saved money and oh, the stock market, but that's one of the things. Like, you can't predict the stock market. So, what about if you're retiring and the stock market goes in the tank and then they're like,
Well, and
oh,
I don't
it'll
believe
come
in that
back?
shaming. Everybody has
It,
a story, everybody has
right.
reasons for this, that, or the
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
Um, people, I've had a few, most people are comment such nice things. It's so
Yeah.
sweet. And I just ignore the ones, but
Oh,
a few people have
that's
said,
the
oh,
internet. I got such a thick skin now. Before it used to like rile me up.
my ex used to always say, "Oh, you have such a silver spoon in your mouth and stuff." And I didn't inherit any money or anything like that, but I
No.
did grow up that way, so I
Yeah.
come across that way. I like aesthetic things and stuff,
Yep.
and but there's shaming for that
Yeah.
too,
I know. I know. Well, that's what
or
people,
like
even
with the
when you're
van life,
70,
like you put makeup on sometimes and you have your hair done and stuff, and like people would be commenting like, "Who are you, some beauty queen?" and stuff like, who
or
makes these rules?
or they'll say that's not real van life. It's
Yeah, it's
like,
like like there's no rules.
no,
There's all
there
different,
are
so
no
there's different types
rules.
of
No.
van lifers, different types of expaters and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's what makes the world go round.
Well, thanks for talking to me. It's been
You're
so
welcome,
interesting.
Tracy. It's been
And
great.
then, yeah, so go
Keep me
follow
posted when you're
Anna.
coming.
And yeah, and then I'll be planning my getaway after I get a different car and my taxes are done. Then I can
Good.
figure out my next step. So,
Yay.
all
Awesome.
right. Well, thanks for talking to me.
I really enjoyed it.
And uh and yeah, and we'll talk again soon. And like I said, go follow you if you want to learn more about life in Colombia.
Absolutely.
All
And you'll be
right.
learning about it too,
Yep.
firsthand.
Yep. I'll be your neighbor pretty soon,
I
hopefully.
know.
All
Awesome. I love it. Okay.
right.
Take
Thanks so
care,
much.
Tracey. Bye bye.
Okay.